Hello and welcome to a special episode of To The Point. The government's celebration of its first anniversary alongside Congress's determination to present the opposite viewpoint has led to a frequent clash between the two. Even the Prime Minister and his predecessor have sparred with each other. So tonight in a special episode we present a debate between two senior and well-informed members of the BJP and Congress on the achievements of the Modi government. What sort of government is it proving to be? What are its successes? What are its disappointments? My guests are the Minister of State for Finance and Hazaribagh MP Jayant Sinha and former Commerce and Industry Minister and Deputy Leader of the Opposition in the Rajya Sabha, Anand Sharma. Anand Sharma, let's start with the economy, which for many perhaps is the main reason why they voted for Mr. Modi.
True.
Inflation, the current account deficit and the fiscal deficit are down, growth is up. FDI in insurance and defence has been raised, diesel deregulated, over 3 lakh crore earned from coal and spectrum auctions. And if the government is lucky, GST and land acquisition amendments could be passed within a couple of months. Can you deny that for a new government, that is a pretty impressive start?
Well, I think we should get the facts right. The government did come into office, particularly Prime Minister Narendra Modi, riding a tidal wave of promises and hopes. And after 1 year, there's disillusionment. You have to look at the facts on the ground. Before we give any credit to the government, what is the state of the economy today? Your exports have fallen, manufacturing is falling, 0.1. Your rupee has become volatile again. We left at 59 at 64. We left a very healthy foreign exchange reserve. You're building on that, but more money is coming into credit than in real equity in manufacturing. Jobs are being lost, jobs are not being created. You refer to insurance. Now, again, just to remind you, Karan, insurance was brought by us. For 7 years, it was blocked. If it has been passed today, it's because you have a responsible and mature opposition. And also you refer to the 3 lakh crores. Where's that 3 lakh crores, by the way? Supreme Court had earlier put an embargo on auctions because 2010 Act was there. Once Supreme Court judgment came, auctions have taken place, but this will come over a period of 30-35 years. Only 6,000 crores have come in. So this is propaganda. We got carried away with this propaganda in the past. Let's look at the hard facts and numbers.
Let Jayant Sinha have a chance to answer that. And let me add to what he said, a point made to me earlier this week by Mr. Chidambaram. He says that the fiscal deficit correction began in his time.
Yes.
Inflation is down because the oil prices collapsed. You can't claim credit for that. Coal and spectrum auctions are a direct result of Supreme Court orders. But most importantly, he says, your growth figure comes into enormous question if you look at what's happening to exports, agriculture, job growth, credit offtake, and the fact that investment is flat. So how much has the economy actually improved, and how much of it is just an impression because the government has changed?
If this is propaganda, then people are putting their money where their mouth is on this. So whether we look at investments happening in FDI, whether we look at investments happening in FII, you'll see both of those have gone up dramatically during our time. For instance, FII money has gone up from $9 billion in the last year of their regime to $46 billion. FDI has gone up from $20 billion to $28 billion. So certainly when we look at objective people who are investing on the merits, they are putting their money where their mouth is. If you look at all the indicators of economic activity, and I will explain why conditions have been somewhat tight for the last year, because we've gone through a consolidation phase. But if you look at all the economic indicators now, it's a very healthy upswing. But we've got to remember that when we took office, inflation had been running over 8% for 7 years, which is the worst tax you can impose on people. It was very important for us to go through a process of prudent monetary policy and fiscal consolidation so we could put the economy back on track.
You know, what he's really saying is if you look at the mood of investors, it's been fired up. Even if you haven't got concrete results on the ground at the moment, the fact that investors are bringing money in, he quotes FII, he quotes FDI. Let me add to that. You only have to listen to Indian industrialists. I'm giving you a chance to answer. Yes. You only have to listen to Indian industrialists like Kiran Majumdar-Shaw, R.C. Bhargav, Ajay Sriram, R. Sheshasai. All of them believe that this government has changed the mood. Give it time, the results will follow.
There's also Deepak Parekh, Harish Mariwala. Let's not forget other voices also. The fact is that your gross capital formation that reflects the investment, whether foreign or domestic, is minus 1.3. For the first time, after many years, it has gone into minus. After 6 years, your core sector growth is at the lowest. So where is that money going? My question would be 2,50,000 crores plus has come in, and I agree with him that FPI money has come in more, though I would like to correct Jayant, because if you look at the RBI numbers, this is a published thing, you can press the button and find it. It was $36.43 billion, that was the FDI in 2013-14. That's the RBI numbers, which cannot be contested or disputed. You have got a couple of billion more. I agree, because you have a mandate, the elections were over, there was a period of uncertainty. But the issue is, out of this 2,50,000 crore plus money which has come in, Karan, you'll be surprised, 1,93,000 crores has come in debt.
Which means it's volatile
equity.
And it can return.
Not in equity. As a result, your debt of the country, the external debt, has risen now to $489 billion. It is $146 billion more than your foreign reserves.
Let me pause you there for a moment. You were taking great pride, Jayant Sinha, on the fact that FIIs have brought a large sum of money in, but actually on the FII front, with your MAT handling or mishandling,
yes,
you slightly shot yourself in the foot. Can you accept that in fact FII money increased substantially until April, when in fact FII withdrawals have begun?
No, there are many reasons why money comes in and out of markets.
One of
as
which
far
is
as
MAT.
The MAT matter did create some confusion. It was a legacy matter that we inherited, unfortunately, from the UPA government. It was sub judice. We clarified it from a policy perspective very clearly going forward. But the sub judice matter is under judicial, in the judicial
you know
process.
What Wall Street Journal said on the 3rd of May, that this is a matter on which the Prime Minister should sack the Finance Minister.
Well, they have their opinions, of course, but the fact of the matter remains that we have set that matter to rest. It is in the courts, and that's where it will be dealt with. Now, with respect to investment, certainly the investment is coming in from objective observers and investors from outside the country, but it is coming also within the country as well. Investments are going up. Domestic money is coming into the equity markets.
Investments going up domestically, because domestic investment is flat, even your finance minister concedes.
No, I'm talking about domestic equity investment in the markets, which have gone up.
Let me say one thing.
What is undeniable is that the mood of investors, the mood of industrialists, the mood of entrepreneurs, and beyond that, the mood of the middle class has changed from despair and disillusionment under your last 2-3 years to hope, expectation, and maybe the hope is too much, but they still hope the government to deliver. That mood change is significant.
Let me tell you, well, hope and despair, despite having delivered almost 8% of growth. You look at the average of 10 years. During our time, India's GDP quadrupled, national income tripled. Let's not forget, we became the first country in the world ever to quadruple the GDP. Can anybody deny that? We took for example, our exports, merchandise exports, was 63 billion. We left at 316. Now, if you can say
I have to compliment you on your mastery of statistics.
No, I must also tell you. It's very important for you, Karan, to know that hope was there. I myself used the word tidal wave of hope.
The word is the important one. Was there in the first term of UPA?
You
it disappeared in the second. That's the point.
No, you promised the sun, moon and the stars. I'm talking of Prime Minister Modi. He promised everything to everyone.
You would have promised the sun, moon and the stars, except people wouldn't have believed it if you made the promise.
Irrespective, people believed him, and now finally they are disappointed because he has not been able to deliver. What are they celebrating this 1 year for?
Well, gentlemen,
for the betrayal? Non-fulfillment of promises?
Let's stick to facts. Let's keep away from polemics.
No, it's not polemics.
Well, it is.
If he promised something to be done in 100 days, is it my right to question or not?
For the sake of the audience, let's stick to concrete issues rather than rhetorical questions.
It's not rhetorical.
Give me a chance to go to him. Can I give me a chance to go to him? Then I'll come back to you.
Sure.
Let's move beyond industry. Let's move beyond investors to agriculture, which after all is the one area where 67% of our population derive their livelihood one way or another. Now, the truth there is that agriculture growth is just about 1.5% under you. Minimum support prices for most crops have barely increased, in some cases by just 50 rupees. At a time of agricultural distress, this looks like stepmotherly treatment.
Well, first of all, I must say Anandji, with the utmost of respect, and he's of course a senior leader and very well respected in all that he's accomplished and in Parliament. But sadly, in this question of the economy, he is fighting a lost cause. He may present his statistics. That's right. I mean, he may present.
Keep away from your polemics. Come to my question instead.
But he may present his statistics. But I think all observers will agree the economy is absolutely.
No, these are not my statistics.
But I don't want you to get into We're moving on. Let's come to the agrarian question.
We have done more for farmers than virtually any government has done. And I'll point to 3 or 4 things. You talk about what has happened with crop damage. Honorable Prime Minister was the person who went out and said, in the past, if 50% of crop damage happened, only then you were paid compensation. We'll do it on 1/3. We will increase the level of compensation. What we're doing with respect to the Krishi Sinchai Yojana, the irrigation program that promises irrigation in every field of India, the soil health card, the agricultural research universities,
the provisions have gone up marginally at best, and that affects farmers critically.
No, but we are providing all kinds of resources and facilities to farmers. When we come specifically to the issue of MSP, with respect to the issue of MSP, we are doing what is appropriate and what is right at this stage with respect to MSPs, and we are making
You're worried more about inflation than you are about farmers.
We will make sure that farmers get all the support and facilities that they
Let me put a different sort of question to you. The charge against Congress is that ever since you became an opposition party, you've begun to concentrate on partisan politics rather than focusing on what is considered the national interest. This is why, on insurance, which is a bill that you wanted to push, they held you up for 7 years, you pushed it into a standing committee for a week.
Because there were changes.
And then again you've done the same thing with GST, and GST is another one of your bills.
We could have held it. Listen, Karan.
Both you pushed into politics and into standing committees rather than legislate.
Within 1 year, insurance was passed. Within months, actually. Go by the facts. And there were changes made, and the government agreed with us. They needed a look-in by a parliamentary committee. GST, they had new elements. We are in favor of GST. Who blocked the GST? Who opposed the GST?
No, they blocked it while they were in opposition. You're blocking it now.
Throughout.
But now you're blocking it.
And leading the charge was, no, we are not blocking it. Please, let me correct you again. They are trying to bypass parliamentary scrutiny. If there are new elements, even Dr. Manmohan Singh has commented, and I talked to the finance minister.
What do you mean, even Dr. Manmohan Singh? He's partisan when he makes this comment.
No, he's not being partisan.
Politics.
He understands
this
GST
bill
much better.
spent 2.5 years in different standing committees and sent it back again.
Changes have been made. New elements are there. I discussed with Arun. I do remember I talked to Jayant also, and we agreed. It's a parliamentary consensus that it needs scrutiny. It doesn't mean that we are opposing. When it comes to, if it is being said about us playing partisan politics.
It is being said.
Let me also then tell you that the worst record in opposition, that distinction belongs to the BJP in the world. Because session after session was destroyed. The legislative agenda was derailed for years.
The temptation to play tutu meme is so overwhelming.
You go by the facts.
Well, I'm not denying the facts, but I want
if today 41 bills have been passed, as Arun has claimed, the credit also belongs to, they must share with a mature opposition which is cooperative.
That's a fair point. Let's move beyond, however, the polemics, because I think it's important we should focus on facts. One of the claims that in fact can be made against you is that many of the successes of which you, Mr. Jaitley, and the Prime Minister are most proud actually not only originated under Congress but are in fact Congress policies which you've rechristened. Dr. Manmohan Singh made that point the other day, and the facts are these. This is true of direct benefit of transfers for LPG subsidies. It's true of the Jan Dhan Yojana. It's true of Make in India. It's true of the Aadhaar scheme. It's true even of insurance. And actually, although it may sound, you're continuing with FDI in retail, and if anyone comes in these adverse circumstances, it will be true of that as well.
No, it's very simple, Karan. The reality, of course, is that it depends on what the policies are and how they are executed. Many of the policies that the UPA claims were in fact started in Shri Atal Bihari Vajpayee's government as well. So there is a continuity in government. And of course, once that continuity is there, you obviously have to improve upon those policies. For instance, Anandji is just saying that the GST was altered from what the UPA had done and therefore it has to go into standing committee. That's showing you that it's not just, select committee, but it's not just that we are taking these policies. We are making a difference both in terms of what the policies are and how they're executed. I might want to remind you,
Karan, let me for your honesty. You said something remarkable, and that's why I'm interrupting you, that there is continuity in government. Many policies continue from the last. That is not what Mr. Modi says when he talks of Jan Dhan Yojana. It's not what he says when he talks of Make in India. You said it. He doesn't.
No. I am saying on the policies like GST, which are of great national importance, where of course there has to be continuity, because as mature parties, both the Congress and the BJP believe in responsible governance. That which is in the national interest, naturally we will take forward appropriately. Now, if there are modifications and execution priorities, because the banking the unbanked, which is what we've accomplished with Jan Dhan Yojana, was something that the UP also attempted. The difference was we got it done.
Forgive me. That is actually untrue, which is why I'm interrupting you. Mr. Chidambaram pointed out on this program, literally on Monday, that it had a different name, Jan Dhan Yojana, under them. They achieved 24 crore. At the moment, you only achieved 15. So don't say you got it done and they didn't. They did a lot too.
But they did not get to the people who absolutely are the poorest
I'm not going to get into two members over things. I'm moving on to another subject.
These were called the Swabhiman Abhiyan under Pranab Mukherjee and the BSBD accounts, no frills account under Chidambaram from 2012 August until March 2014.
You're repeating what I said. I want to move on. I want to move on now to some of the criticisms that you're making of them, which I think are unfounded. Mr. Chidambaram has made a lot of, if I can so put it colloquially, noise, both in television studios as well as in his Indian Express column, that the NDA has cut critical allocations to policies essential for the poor, the scheduled castes and the scheduled tribes.
That's true.
Policies to, let me finish, policies to do with drinking water, sanitation, women and child health care. Mr. Jaitley says that is only a half-truth. If you add what the centres as a result of the 10% increase in taxation will be putting in, not only will these policies and these schemes be better funded, they'll be stronger. So I put it to you, Mr. Chidambaram's criticism is mistaken.
No. And I think Jayant will bear me out. He was present when I questioned Arun Jaitley in the House. You see, this 14th Finance Commission recommendations, the terms of reference set earlier, the government has accepted. If you look at the history, it's a constitutional mandate. Okay, there's when it comes to untied funds, when it comes to the revenue sharing, there's that increase as per the recommendations. It was not a BJP's decision, but okay, we acknowledge that that has happened. But there's the other side also which you're overlooking completely, and that's where Arun is being very clever. You see, earlier the central, if you look at the pie, there's 42% was the central assistance to the states, and plus the plan outlays. And what has happened now, they have increased 10% there, and they have increased another 4%. Let me tell you, let me be fair to them.
Make his argument for him.
No.
Because actually, the truth of the matter is this.
No, let me complete. Let me complete. 4% they have also added when it comes to loan and grants. So that becomes what? 14, not 10. But what they have done.
But that's even more.
No, but let me then tell you.
You're arguing against yourself.
No. Then from 42%, what was there earlier.
No,
please allow me to complete. No, it's very important.
Very quickly, because you're confusing the audience.
They have reduced it to 28%.
Well,
so they have cut exactly 14%.
Let me put it like this, Mr. Sinha. 14. It's not just Mr. Chidambaram who's made this claim that you've got allocation to critical schemes. It's made by chief ministers like Naveen Patnaik and Siddaramaiah, and more embarrassingly for you, it's made by Maneka Gandhi, a member of your cabinet. And then there's the second point that he alluded to, but maybe he didn't make enough of. You may have given 10%.
They've taken 14% back.
But the truth is, these are untied funds. What you've cut were tied funds.
Tied funds.
There's no guarantee the chief ministers will use these funds for the schemes where their money has been deprived. Jayalalitha, for example, could use it for more Amma canteens.
Karan, that is precisely the point. That's called federalism. And let me just boil it down to one simple number, Karan, which, Anandji and we discussed extensively in Parliament. The fact is that the unconditional allocation of money to the states has gone up by 1,35,000 crores. That's the bottom line. That's how much more money the states have got.
Central assistance cut by 1,35,000.
When you net it all out, the states have gained 1,35,000 crores more, and that money has gone from the center to the states. Now, look, the truth of the matter is most of these subjects that we're talking about, the social subjects, education, health and so on, tend to be state subjects. The states are very capable, the states are responsive, the states are accountable to their people to deliver against
this. Pause a moment, Mr. Sinha, and answer this for me.
Those schemes are related to a philosophy and an ideology that the UP had, which is a one-size-fits-all philosophy, where everything was being disbursed, doled out by the Planning Commission to the states, which they resented.
Mr. Sinha, if you are so convinced that in fact you haven't cut the allocations, that the states are responsible and will put in the money, and that there's no danger that in fact people like Jayalalitha will squander it in Amma canteens, how do you answer your cabinet minister, Maneka Gandhi, April the 27th? This is what she wrote to Arun Jaitley about the 50% cut of allocation to her ministry. This may result in a situation where the focus is lost on critical programs related to malnutrition of children. Little helpless babies, toddlers, she's worried will lose out.
Karan, I travel in the remote areas of Jharkhand all the time, and I pick up these children and I hold them in my arms. I know all about the malnutrition of children. In fact, it's a massive priority for me in my own constituency. The operative word you have to remember in Meneka ji's letter is may. And she's appropriately concerned that these programs that are for the nutrition of these children may be impacted. Therefore, we are of course working with NITI and so on to ensure that in the states where this kind of support is necessary, that support is provided. That's called Team India.
Well spotted, Minister. The operative word undoubtedly is may, but the operative point is that a cabinet minister is worried that the finance minister has actually taken a risk. It's the risk we're talking about.
No, but we are absolutely closing that risk by actually working collaboratively with the states to be able to address the concerns that our ministers have.
All right, gentlemen, let's take a break at that point. We've talked about the economy, we've talked about the differences between the two, we've talked about the policies that are being pursued and how some of them are actually yours and how some have been improved by him. Gentlemen, let's come to foreign affairs, Anand Sharma, which many consider Mr. Modi's greatest success. Your former national security advisor, Shiv Shankar Menon, said to me in March that the Modi government is more vigorous and more energetic than the UPA in pursuing foreign affairs. Can you deny that?
Is the difference of personalities between Dr. Manmohan Singh and Prime Minister Narendra Modi. He was too eager because he had not travelled abroad or engaged with the world leaders than to engage. He is visible. I can agree there. But when you talk of foreign policy, it is not event management or grandstanding. Diplomacy and statecraft is extremely complex. When you deal with the strategic partners or in your neighborhood.
Can I interrupt you there? Can you deny that there's been a transformation in the relationship? But just a moment, let me finish the question before you answer it. Let me finish the question.
Okay.
That there's been a transformation in the relationship with China and America, with neighbors like Sri Lanka, Bangladesh and Nepal. In all those areas, the relationship has gone to another level.
Can I then comment? And please allow me? No, you have asked me this.
Go ahead.
Now, first of all, what with America? He's taken forward the Indo-US nuclear agreement, the commercial operationalization. This partnership has been built over a period of time. Number two, with China, what is the transformation? The same commitments were there. Read the declarations. He went to Canada. The same Dr. Manmohan Singh went there in 2010. So this Indo-US nuclear agreement was taken forward, and it got us into the nuclear mainstream. Another important thing which I must tell you about the neighborhood. I'm not going into specific details about the countries. We took this forward together when it comes to the land boundary agreement with Bangladesh. Okay. But let me tell you caution about Nepal. Nepal, the patronizing attitude caused a problem.
But that was the press, not the government. So let's not confuse issues. So Nepal accused the press, not the government.
Earlier for the SAARC summit, there was a band in Nepal. Because when our Prime Minister, you are Prime Minister of India, Nepal is a sovereign country. When you go announce that I'm going to address 2 public meetings in Janakpur and one in
I take your point. You're talking about events that happened in November. Let me now bring it Jansen, because it's only fair that he should have an equal chance to talk. Sure. He's not perhaps as voluble as at times you are.
Not voluble.
Let me put it like this. The point he's making is a fair point and it's been made by several analysts as well. Modi has carried out very high-profile visits which have attracted a lot of attention, but the outcomes are minimal. For instance, China has not endorsed our membership of the United Nations Security Council or the NSG. President Obama may have come and been chief guest at Republic Day, but he embarrassed you with his C4 speech where he drew attention to what were widely interpreted to be problems with the way in which Mr. Modi was responding to Ghar Wapsi. And frankly speaking, your Pakistan policy is the same as theirs. It's stop-start, it's as confusing and it's as confused.
Anandji spoke about complex statecraft that's required to operate on the global stage. My question to him is, what statecraft did you require to tell you to go to Nepal? An Indian Prime Minister had not gone to Nepal for 17 years. We were the
and
party,
over 30 in the
and
case
the
of
Prime
Australia.
Minister, when Prime Minister Modi ji went to Japan, we were able to ink a deal with Japan which said they would invest $35 billion in India over the next 5 years. We have been able to take our relationship with the US to extraordinary heights, to the extent that we had for the first time a US president at the Republic Day parade, which is a really extraordinary sign of close relationship. So if you look around the world, the stature that India has now, the respect that people have for India as now a fast emerging global power, the kind of business relationships we've been able to forge with Canada, with Australia, with the US. I mean, this is extraordinary and unprecedented to be able to achieve all of this in just a year. I call that extraordinary statecraft.
Can I put that point as little differently to Anand Sharma? Do you not admire the skill and facility with which Mr. Modi has actually developed a personal rapport with leaders as diverse as Xi Jinping and Barack Obama, Shinzo Abe and Stephen Harper, Francois Hollande and Tony Abbott? And remember, just about a year and a bit earlier, this Mr. Modi was considered a political pariah. Yet these very people today are pursuing him
Karan,
and hosting him in a way in which most Indians are quite surprised.
They are not hosting Narendra Modi. They are hosting the Prime Minister of the Republic of India. India had arrived well before Narendra Modi. India was a nuclear power, space power, an emerging economic power, an IT power of the world.
They considered him a pariah.
Listen, because people of India voted for the BJP. He is the Prime Minister of India. He carries the national flag. So, and he is getting carried away that for the first time India is being recognized on the world stage. Listen, Jayant said, and with due respect, let me tell you, what is the outcome in Japan? I'm sorry, we got 50 billion actually.
They've got a promise of 35 billion.
Listen.
It was only 6 months ago.
We got actual money come for the Delhi-Mumbai Industrial Corridor. The funds were transferred. We got money under the STEP, the arrangement, the currency swap and the interest swap.
But are you suggesting that the 35 billion will never be paid?
No, but I'm saying here they came.
There are 4 more years.
5 plus 50. You know those arrangements. I'm sure that he's aware of that. First it was 15 billion and then we talked to them. And I was the one who was talking to the Métis minister, who was my counterpart, because he was designated by Shinzo Abe. And that 15 and plus 35. And there's a unique arrangement we entered into between the Reserve Bank of India and
35 that was given to you is going to be repeated to Mr. Modi?
No, I'm not saying. It will be over a period of time. It's not going to happen overnight. But what we got, listen, we got Japan as our partner for 3 industrial corridors and 4 freight corridors. Please be fair to what was done earlier. And this government, particularly the Prime Minister, is claiming ownership to everything. Political decency demands and grace demands that you also say that something was done earlier and we are taking it forward.
Okay.
We will acknowledge what he is doing or accelerating.
Anand is exactly right. Of course, the UPA did a whole host of things. Unfortunately, the whole host of things they did led to a certain result at the elections of May 2014. So we know what the result of all of that was. But then the truth of the matter is that when you look across the board, when you look at country after country, if you look at the kinds of deals that have been able to be signed with France, with Australia, with Canada on the nuclear supplies, for instance. This is, again, as I was saying, just an extraordinary set of achievements from a Prime Minister who has been able to, in 1 year, visit 18 countries and get so much work accomplished.
You talk about the extraordinary achievements of the Prime Minister, and no one will deny that his visits abroad have an enormous impact and his meetings with NRIs are irresistible for Indian television. The problem is that those meetings end up being double-edged swords, because all the sometimes silly things he says, and I'm saying that deliberately, sometimes silly things he says, like in Seoul, where he said that before he became Prime Minister, Indians used to say of themselves, "What sin have I committed that I am born an Indian?" was plastered across the screens in India. It got him into terrible trouble, and it's made people say he's a very effective speaker, but sometimes he says more than he means to and intends to. So this double-edged sword can catch him out at times, can't it?
No, the Prime Minister is a great patriot. He has dedicated himself to the service of the nation and to improving the nation.
I want to move beyond foreign affairs.
No, I must comment
very
on this.
quickly.
I must comment. Prime Minister travels as India's Prime Minister, not as a leader of the BJP. No, there is a time-honored tradition that you don't say anything when it comes to your political opponents or predecessors on foreign soil. And we also don't say anything personally against the Prime Minister when he's on foreign soil. We honored it. He has repeatedly violated it. No, it's not only...
You made the point.
Listen,
I don't think we
he
need to
has
labor it. I
humiliated
want to ask
all
him
his-
if he wants to
You
respond.
call
to
your
I'm
country
not
a
going
scam,
to...
India.
Anand Sharma,
No, I'm
I am
sorry.
not going to get this discussion
It's
hijacked
not.
on that point. He can
Why
respond
not?
to it and then I'll move
Why
forward.
not?
No, but
Why
you
not?
made the point.
You called that
You
India
made
was
the
a
point.
beggar
Anand,
country
you made the
earlier.
point. You made
You
the
say
point.
India was a
You want to
scam
respond to
India.
it? You want to respond
All
to
the
it?
things that Anandji has spoken about, scam India, corruption India, Anandji and I don't have to say it. They were splashed on the front pages of every newspaper and every
But that is-
The point
website
he's making
around
is
India
the world.
cannot be a
He's
scam.
saying-
And
he's saying
India
that you should-
lost.
India cannot be a
Don't
scam.
criticize the
truth of
opposition abroad.
the reputation that India has
He's-
as a corrupt, dysfunctional nation
This is
was
unfortunate.
absolutely
Look at the
true.
achievement.
That's what was in every
Get
paper.
out of the election mindset,
I'm just
get
telling
out
you
of the
what's on the
political
front pages of
propaganda.
the papers.
This
If you
Prime
want to
Minister
deny
carries
it
a
and not
hangover.
face reality,
No.
I'm sorry.
Well, you are the government now. Prove it.
I'm just
establish
saying-
it.
I'm saying
You
that was the case
prove
during
it,
their regime.
Prove
It's
it.
the
Establish it.
All right,
Now
gentlemen. I
we
think,
are
gentlemen,
no more
gentlemen,
into
you
elections.
both had enough time
No,
on this
there is-
point. No, I'm not going to let you carry on now. You are in a civilized television
Yes.
studio. We're not in Parliament. I want to move on to another subject.
No, Karan,
We owe it
you are
to
running
the
in
viewers.
danger.
I'm
Parliament
not
is
running
also
in
having
danger. I'm
civilized
making a
debates.
tongue-in-cheek
Absolutely.
joke.
Come on now.
I'm
We have
making
very
a
civilized
tongue-in-cheek
debates
joke.
in Parliament, please.
The audience want to hear
I
you
think
now
some
on
TV
serious
studios have a
subject.
lot to
Now
lot
let me
to
put it like
answer
this.
for
Do
in
you
that
know,
regard.
Anand Sharma, what people say is the biggest success of this government? The fact that there's not a single taint of corruption that surrounds it. Not a single scam, not a single scandal. Sadly, for whatever reason, you left office as a government tainted and shrouded by scandal. They finished a full
There's
year
a difference.
without
Please use the
even
word
a single
correctly.
charge.
It is a perception. What was established, what will get established, the jury is still out. And the jury will be out for them also. When they were in government earlier, I can give you a whole list.
I'm
The
intrigued by the
NDA
second
government,
bit. When you say the jury is still out for them, what
because
are
the
you suggesting?
courts are still looking into matters.
So you mean there are scandals that we don't know about?
No.
Then?
Even there, who is guilty, who is culpable?
Which is it there? Your time or this time?
No, even our time.
Okay.
Decisions which may have been made, there may not be any criminality involved or malafide intent. That's what the present finance minister and present government is also saying when they want to amend.
It's hard to believe
they are
that
amending.
It's hard to believe that the cases in the 2G, to take that as
I'm
one
not talking.
example,
Why are you
where
picking on
ministers
one?
have gone to jail,
Then shall I
will
start?
end up
Then
being
will you allow me to give the list out? From the UTI scam to the stock market scam of Ketan Mehta to the coffin scam. Now let's not get
those
there.
are earlier
Those are
governments.
earlier. But you wait. Already things are being said. I hope it does not happen. But why are you not
Explain to
giving
me
it?
what you mean
No,
when you
but
say things are being said. I'm
allow-
intrigued.
allow.
The audience is intrigued. What are you suggesting?
Let me tell you. Will you allow me a full say?
Very quickly.
Now listen, if you have a situation when foreign heads of states come calling to India and loans are facilitated, I'm not talking of the Australia matter, I'm talking of Putin's visit and Xi Jinping's visit, and the Prime Minister of India presides over signing of the loan agreements by the Russian bank and the Bank of China to private entities. Number two,
I think
what
I have
happened
to
in
allow him
France?
to answer
What
that.
happened in France? No, another thing. 12 agreements were signed.
What
Earlier we were
happened in
negotiating.
France? What happened in France?
Why HAL was cut out? Which is the private party now getting into? What was the earlier agreement?
There is no private party
It was
getting into
RFP.
it at the moment.
You
It's
wait,
a government-to-government
you wait.
deal.
It's only for 36.
And it
You
may
wait
not go
and watch.
beyond that.
No,
But-
it will have to go beyond
no,
that.
Anand Sharma, I have
I think
to
in
stop you
all
now. I
fairness,
think in all fairness, you
if
must reply.
Anandji and the Congress want to raise these very serious charges, they should do so
We will do-
with all the facts in the court of public opinion, and then
We will do
thereafter
so.
in the judicial system. Let
We'll do
them
it in
please do
Parliament.
that. I think we can say with utmost confidence, and the Prime Minister can say with utmost confidence, that as far as the conduct of our government is concerned, it is beyond reproach. We've done everything that we have done honestly and in a fair and open manner. And if they have their charges, let them please bring them.
I think
all
we've
I
had
can
enough
say.
on that subject.
No, there is something very
as-
important you
no,
must
no,
know, Karan. Forget about this, what I said. there were two agreements which were being discussed to import diamonds for our PSUs.
Mr. Sharma, you're in danger of being libelous. I don't think
I'm
we
not
should
being
be raising
libelous.
charges which you
I'm
can't
a lawyer
prove.
by profession. I
But
know what I'm saying.
Maybe, but I don't think this is an opportunity for us to trade charges which we can't prove.
You were calling my government corrupt, tainted.
I said you left shrouded by the taint of corruption,
no,
which
yes,
is true.
It was a perception.
Well, never mind,
okay,
it's still true. There is no perception
but
about
allow
them.
me to,
you want to create the perception about them.
No, if something is there, do we have a right to comment or not?
Well, you do.
You have a right to point it out
Absolutely.
or not.
But
that will happen, Karan.
Can I
we are doing our job as opposition.
I grant that. Just as I said to Anand Sharma, that perhaps in people's eyes the greatest success of this government was the belief or the perception that there is no corruption surrounding you, I want to put an opposite to you. For many people, the greatest failing of your government, the most disturbing thing about your government is the way you've responded to love jihad and ghar vapsi. Eminent people like Giulio Robero, Admiral Sushil Kumar, Archbishop Kuto, Cardinal Clemus have expressed their personal anguish. President Obama expressed his concern. And you know the problem? The problem is this. On love jihad, the Prime Minister was completely silent. And although he spoke up on ghar vapsi, many believe he did it late. Some others feel he was pushed into doing it, others he wouldn't have done it at all. And people wonder whether this ambiguity, this silence suggests question marks and doubts.
Karan, the Prime Minister has been absolutely direct and forthright, and not just the Prime Minister, but all our senior party leaders, including the party president, have been absolutely forthright. And just recently in the PTI interview, just a day or two ago, the Prime Minister was very clear, saying that it is his responsibility and duty to protect all citizens of this country, to make sure that no criminal acts of any kind are foisted upon people, and that if there has been in fact any criminal activity of that sort, that the full force of the law should be applied against that. He has said over and over again that he has only one religion, and that is the service of India, and that he has only one holy book, which is the Constitution of India.
The Prime Minister of India, the
Prime Minister of India is constitutionally obligated to uphold the fundamental rights of every Indian citizen, and I think nobody can question the Prime Minister's devotion and sincerity to that task.
The problem is not the Prime Minister, but the silences from the Prime Minister. At times, the bigger problem...
You asked about the Prime Minister,
absolutely.
So I'm replying.
And the bigger problem is some of the statements made by colleagues of yours, some of them more senior than you, some of them at your level.
And
they embarrass your government continually.
Those that have made such statements have gotten notices from the party, and action is forthcoming in that regard. We absolutely want to respect and protect and cherish people of all castes, all creeds, all communities, and all of us who are responsible members, citizens, members of parliament and so on, are absolutely dedicated. We swear an oath to that effect.
Let's then come, gentlemen, in the remaining 5 minutes left to us, to Prime Minister Modi, because in a sense, Anand Sharma, we haven't had a Prime Minister who's dominated the news and stamped his personality on the government the way Mr. Modi has since Indira Gandhi. The India Today group did a poll survey. 66% of India believe Mr. Modi's performance is either very good or excellent. I put it to you that after 1 year in office, that's a remarkable level of endorsement.
That's true. That's 360-degree communication. Indira Gandhi's time, there was no social media, there was no television. As you know, I know. Narendra Modi has succeeded. And I agree at least with one thing of what their party veteran leader, Advani ji, said before the elections in Ahmedabad, in Gandhinagar, with Narendra Modi on his side, and there was a comparison being drawn between Atal Bihari Vajpayee ji and Narendra Modi. He said Atal Bihari Vajpayee ji was a statesman, Narendra Bhai Modi is a great event manager. So he is treating everything, whether foreign visits, any occasion, any policy statement, as an event, grandstanding. That's what I said, a fashion icon, as how he presents himself. That's his right. But he's an independent person, he's the Prime Minister of India. But to think that, he has stamped it how? What kind of resources are being used today? Also, you honestly reflect on it. In 1 year, what achievements? Is it worth it? 100 rallies, publicity, blitzkrieg and all. You tell the people.
It's worth it if it gets the votes and he wins elections.
Well, you will see next time.
The point he's making, and he's quoting Mr. Advani to buttress it, and it's a fairly critical point, is that Mr. Modi is an event manager, not a statesman as Mr. Vajpayee was. How do you respond to that?
Karan, I have much more faith in the wisdom of the Indian people than Anandji has.
What about the wisdom of L.K. Advani?
And I think we have to recognize that the wisdom of the people of India has spoken through all the surveys that are happening in all the news channels and all the media outlets.
Including the Delhi elections?
And
Including the Delhi elections?
I'm talking about the assessment of Prime Minister Modi's first year. And if you look at all the surveys, you yourself said it, a 66%, a 70% rating is extraordinary in a democracy. And it is very clear, because we know that the Indian people are very, very adept at understanding what is reality and what is showmanship. They can very easily distinguish between those two. And the reality
I'm not being dismissive of the Prime Minister.
No, but
I'm saying the way he is projecting.
Anandji, you're saying what we have done is event management. I am saying let's give credit where credit is due.
He's full of himself.
Let's give credit to the Indian people. They know how to be able to judge somebody who can deliver the goods for them, who's capable of being Prime Minister of India, versus somebody, as you say, who's an event manager.
You said
no. There's something which
you spoke there about the wisdom of the Prime Minister.
I said the wisdom of the Indian people.
Not the wisdom of the Prime Minister.
I said the wisdom of the Indian people to be able to.
I then want to raise the question about the wisdom of the Prime Minister, and the example I want to give you is the unfortunate monogram suit. And the reason I bring it up is this: it's not just a lapse in sartorial taste. That's the very minor part of it. It brought to the forefront a critical question about the sort of gifts the Prime Minister accepts. Mr. Modi is very lucky that second question didn't get asked.
It had
and
to go
people
to a
didn't wait for an
Toshakana.
answer. But the truth of the matter is that should a Prime Minister be accepting a gift that perhaps costs as much as 10 lakhs? It was an unfortunate thing, but in a way it's raised an issue that worries people. You're lucky that issue hasn't come to the forefront in the way I'm bringing it.
I don't even know whether you can call it a gift, because after using it once, it was immediately auctioned off. It was not a gift in that sense. He never took possession. I mean, he never had possession of it.
But he did have possession of it. He wore it.
That's right. That's why it became so valuable and led to 10 lakhs in an auction.
Are you suggesting that he only accepted it with the intention of auctioning it?
He has had a reputation of taking these kinds of items, putting them in the Toshakhana, auctioning them off, and giving the proceeds of that, including his salary, for the scholarships of people
Do you buy that?
who are needing.
Do you buy that?
No.
I think it's extraordinary, his generosity.
He is the only Prime Minister. He changes his clothes 5 times a day. Even Obama
in the summer
referred
heat,
to
that's
that.
not a bad idea.
I'm not saying about summers.
And have you forgotten Shivraj Patil?
Have you forgotten?
On the eve of the 26th of November.
Listen, have you forgotten the Louis Vuitton shawl, which was on the shoulder?
And it turned out not to be Louis Vuitton.
Well,
so let's be honest.
No, that's not true.
It was an imitation. Probably made in blessed Gujarat.
I don't know. But there is something else which I must point it out about the conduct. Can we request our Prime Minister, particularly when you engage with a country like China, where we have huge sensitivities, complex, that when you go there, don't then have selfies, you take yourself with Xi Jinping. This is not
But
what
Xi
is it.
Jinping didn't mind. He was rather happy.
No, it's not a question. I'm sorry. Xi Jinping. Have you ever seen any head of state or any head of government doing this?
All right, gentlemen. At this point, when we've descended from what some would call the sublime to the ridiculous, we're talking about the Prime Minister's selfies and whether they're appropriate or not.
This is the age of social
and at
media.
least both my guests are smiling and laughing,
media.
and perhaps they're laughing at themselves as much as they're laughing at me. I thank both of you for joining me. It was fascinating to have you. It was an enjoyable quarrel between you, but it was also illuminating. And in addition, I think it would be very informative for the audience. My thanks to both of you. And there we end this special episode. If you have been, thanks for watching. Goodbye. Good night.